Hi, I'm Lucy Alexander. I am an engineering associate at the AIChE Institute for Sustainability, and I'm here today with Herb Cabezas, who is with the EPA and is also faculty at the University for Pannonia. Herb took part in the World Café this morning, where he gave a talk on methodology and tools for studying sustainability in the energy, water, food nexus. Herb, one clear message emerging from today's session is that there's no one-size-fits-all solution for sustainability challenges. What are some context-specific variables that need to be considered, and how do they affect the different approaches to sustainability problems?
In context-specific variables, you have to take into account the environment you're working on. You are working in a desert where water is scarce. Are you working in a crowded area where land use is scarce, and so forth. Mm-hmm. And so you have to tailor solutions to a specific locale, because there isn't a universal solution that works everywhere.
Right. And you spoke about integrated metrics in your presentation. So can you explain a little bit more about what that means and why they need to be considered?
The idea using integrated metrics is to make sure that you are not trading environmental problems. For instance, you don't want to solve a water problem and to create an air emissions problem, or to use so that you're using a lot of energy. So when you look at integrated metrics, you are including essentially a basic life cycle assessment where you look at where something is produced, you're integrating across water, air, land, and so forth. And you tend to translate everything into either land area or energy or money or something more abstract, system stability. And for instance, you have ecological footprint, which is a measure of land area use. And for sustainability, you don't want the footprint to be increasing. You have energy, which is a measure of the total solar energy needed to create a product or to maintain an operation. And the lower the energy input, the more sustainable, because you are tapping the environment less. On the economic perspective, you have something like green net product, which is GDP minus the loss of value, both natural, environment, and infrastructure. And you want the GDP to be a positive number because you don't want to have economic activity where you're drawing down the value in the region. And lastly, you have something like efficient information index, which is a measure of system dynamic stability, because unless you have a reasonably stable system, sustainability doesn't even make sense. So all of these things incorporate every aspect of the system. Everything gets translated into either information or money or solar energy or values. And you look at all of them together with sustainability criteria to try and get a comprehensive sense of whether the region is or is not sustainable, or is moving towards or away from sustainability over time. So that's why you want to use integrated metrics, and you need to use more than one. Right. Yeah.
And can you give a specific example about how one of these metrics could be applied?
Surely. I'll pick energy. Energy is an acronym that used to be called embodied energy. If I have a stylus here, is an estimate of the total solar energy that was required to produce my stylus. Okay, and this is important to sustainability because this is solar energy that came into the planet, was captured and stored by the environment, and I am now using it. So if I do need to produce a stylus, I want to use as little solar energy as possible while meeting the needs that I have for a stylus. If I have a production facility, I want to use as little solar energy as possible. And what I do is I look at this and say, all right, there are metals here, so I had to mine, the metal had to come out of somewhere. So I tried to estimate how much solar energy it took to mine the metals, refine them, and get them into shape. There's a plastic here, may have come from petroleum or coal or perhaps a biosource. There is rubber, probably synthetic rubber. So I sum up all the solar energy that had to be invested along the value chain so that I eventually end up with a stylus. Okay, and when you're thinking about sustainability, you just want to say, well, I want to get my stylus, but I want to do it with as little solar energy as possible. Likewise, if I also throw in a footprint and I throw in green net product, yes, I want to produce my stylus, but I want my green net product to be positive. I want my footprint to be as small as possible. And I don't want to destabilize whatever system I'm looking at in the process of producing this stylus. So that's maybe a concrete example of how you use these kinds of things.
Well, Herb, thank you very much for talking to me today, and thank you for presenting
You're-
at the World Cafe.
Thank you. You're welcome.